There's a beaten-down car pulling up to a mansion right now. The car is so old, so rusted, so held together by duct tape and prayers that you can't even tell what color it's supposed to be. The tires are bald. There's a crack running down the windshield. And the man stepping out of that car? He's wearing clothes that look like they've been dragged through mud and forgotten in a closet for months. But here's what nobody knows. Here's the secret that's about to blow this entire story wide open. That man in those ragged clothes? He's a billionaire. His name is Marcus Wellington. And what's about to happen in the next few hours will change everything he thought he knew about family, about love, and about himself. Let me take you back for just a moment. Let me tell you who Marcus really is. For 15 years, Marcus lived in Boston building a technology empire from absolutely nothing. We're not talking about a comfortable life. We're not talking about being well off. We're talking about the kind of wealth that most people can't even imagine. Private jets, multiple properties, making more money in a single day than most families make in their entire lives. Business magazines wrote feature stories about him. Investors fought each other for the chance to work with him. He was living the American dream on steroids. But underneath all that success, Marcus felt something eating away at him. Loneliness. Deep, crushing loneliness. And he had convinced himself that he knew exactly why he felt so alone. His family back in Philadelphia, the people he'd left behind when he chased his dreams, he believed they only loved him for what he could do for them, for the money he could send, for the lifestyle he could provide, for the doors he could open. They didn't love him. They loved his wallet. So Marcus came up with a plan. A test. He would go home unannounced. But not as the billionaire Marcus Wellington. He would go home as a failure. He would tell them that a massive lawsuit had destroyed everything. That his company had collapsed. That his house was foreclosed. That he was bankrupt and broken. And then he would watch. He would watch how they treated him when he had nothing left to give. That's why he's standing in this driveway right now, looking up at the massive brick colonial house where his family is gathering for Sunday dinner. That's why he's wearing clothes that smell like desperation. That's why his hands are shaking just a little bit as he walks toward the front door. The door opens before he can knock. His mother, Ruth Wellington, stands there. She's in her mid-70s now. Her hair is gray and styled the way it's been for decades. She's wearing a soft floral dress. And her eyes, those same warm brown eyes Marcus has known his entire life, they look at him. For just a second, something flickers across her face. Something that looks almost like knowing, like she sees right through him. But it passes so quickly that Marcus almost misses it. Ruth pulls him into a hug. She holds him just a little bit longer than normal. 3 seconds. 4 seconds. Then she steps back. "Come on in, baby," she says, her voice warm but measured. "Everyone's here. The house smells like heaven. Like childhood. Like every Sunday dinner Marcus ever had growing up. Collard greens seasoned perfectly. Fried chicken with skin so crispy it shatters when you bite it. Cornbread still warm from the oven. Sweet potato pie that makes your mouth water just thinking about it. It's the smell of family. It's the smell of home. But as Marcus crosses that threshold, his stomach tightens into a knot. Because he knows what's about to happen. The dining room is full of people. His 2 older sisters, Angela and Michelle, are already seated at the table. Angela is wearing a Chanel suit even though it's just family dinner. Michelle's nails are freshly manicured. Her jewelry is expensive and carefully chosen. They've done well for themselves. Angela is a hospital administrator, always climbing the ladder, always thinking about the next promotion. Michelle runs a luxury event planning business, always connected to high society, always thinking about the next gala. They look up as Marcus enters. Their smiles freeze on their faces. "Marcus," Angela says, standing up slowly. "We didn't know you were coming home." "I didn't either," he says quietly. And those words are the most honest thing he'll say all evening. His mother sits down at the head of the table. Aunts and uncles start filing in from the kitchen. And then his brother Daniel comes through the back door. He's got dirt under his fingernails from the landscaping job he's been working all day. Unlike everyone else, Daniel doesn't freeze. He smiles wide, genuinely happy to see his younger brother. "Yo, Marcus, man," Daniel calls out, moving forward to embrace him. But then he stops. He studies Marcus's face. "Man, what's wrong? You look like someone died." Marcus takes a deep breath. He's rehearsed this moment 1,000 times in his head. He thought it would be easy. But standing here, surrounded by the people who raised him, the people who knew him his whole life, it's harder than he expected. I lost everything, he says simply. The room goes quiet. There was a lawsuit. A big one. The company got named in a case I didn't see coming. By the time my lawyers were done fighting it, by the time everything was settled. He pauses. The house is gone. The business is gone. Everything is gone. I'm bankrupt. And I need to crash somewhere for a few months while I figure out how to rebuild my life. The silence that follows isn't sympathetic. It isn't warm. It's cold. Heavy. Like all the air has been sucked out of the room and replaced with something hard and sharp. Angela sets down her fork carefully. She looks at her hands for a long moment before speaking. That's terrible, Marcus. Really terrible. She pauses. But I don't know if I can help you with this right now. My house is so crowded with all the renovation work we're doing. Contractors are in and out at all hours. It would be really disruptive. It would only be for a few months, Marcus says, already knowing what's coming. Michelle clears her throat. She's always been the one most concerned with appearances. Most worried about what other people think. The situation is complicated for me as well, she says, her voice carefully polite in a way that makes it clear she doesn't actually care about his suffering. I'm hosting the Metropolitan Charity Gala next month. It's a very high-profile event. I have clients flying in. Having you there during that time would really... She pauses, searching for the right words. It would ruin the aesthetic we've been cultivating. I'm sure you understand. Ruin the aesthetic. Those words hang in the air like poison. Not, I'm sorry you're going through this. Not, how can I help? But it would ruin the aesthetic. Marcus looks at his mother, searching for something. Some sign that she feels for him. That she understands what this rejection means. But Ruth just looks back at him. Her eyes are warm but distant. And she says nothing. The aunts and uncles make their excuses. Small homes. Their own problems. One uncle mumbles something about having just taken in his sister and not having any extra room. The words all blend together into one long rejection. One long chorus of no, we can't help you. This dining room that smelled like love and family just minutes ago now feels freezing cold. The food on the table that looked so appetizing now looks obscene. Here are people eating elaborate meals while their son, their brother, their nephew stands in front of them in worn-out clothes asking for help. And every single one of them says no. Every single one of them. Except Daniel. Daniel waits until everyone has finished making their excuses. Until the room has returned to that terrible silence. Then he stands up and walks over to Marcus. He places his hand on his brother's shoulder and looks him straight in the eye. Man, I don't care about the money, Daniel says, and his voice is steady and sure. I never cared about all that. You know me. I run a small landscaping business. I'm not trying to be a billionaire or a CEO or any of that. I just want to live my life and be good to the people I love. He pauses. And I love you, man. You're my brother. Come work with me on the trucks. We'll get you back on your feet. And you can stay with me as long as you need. My house is your house. In that moment, something shifts inside Marcus. All the cynicism, all the doubt, all the suspicion he's been carrying for so long, it cracks. Just a little bit. Maybe there's one good person in this family. Maybe after all these years of believing that everyone around him was motivated only by greed and selfishness, there's one person who actually loves him for who he is. Not for what he has, but for who he is. Daniel hugs him. And for the first time since Marcus arrived home, he feels like he can breathe again. He feels like maybe, just maybe, he was wrong about everything. What Marcus doesn't know yet is that this moment of hope, this feeling of finally finding genuine love, is about to be shattered in the most devastating way possible. The next morning, Marcus wakes up in Daniel's spare room feeling something he hasn't felt in years. Peace. It's a small room. Simple furniture. Pale green walls. There's a window that looks out onto the street, and through it, Marcus can see the neighborhood where Daniel lives. It's not fancy. Not poor, but not wealthy either. Just a normal, everyday neighborhood where normal, everyday people live their lives. Marcus looks around this simple room and thinks about the last 15 years. All that time spent chasing things, accumulating things, believing that more was always better. And yet here, in this tiny room, with nothing but the clothes on his back and gratitude in his heart for a brother who showed him kindness, he feels more at peace than he has in a very long time. Daniel left early for a job, but he left a note on the kitchen table. Make yourself at home. There's food in the fridge. I'll pick you up at noon. When Daniel arrives, Marcus climbs into the landscaping truck. They drive across town to a job site, and Marcus spends the day doing real physical work. Raking leaves, trimming hedges, hauling bags of mulch that make his shoulders burn. His hands, which have never done anything more strenuous than sign documents, become blistered. His back, which has been tight from years of sitting in executive chairs, starts to ache. And he loves every single second of it. There's something pure about physical work. Something honest about laboring for a wage. Something genuinely satisfying about looking at a yard when you're done and seeing the tangible results of your effort. Over the next 3 weeks, Marcus settles into a routine. Wake up early. Work with Daniel's crew all day. In the evenings, sit on the porch and talk about life. Daniel tells him about the challenges of running a small business. About his dreams and his fears. About the girl he's seeing who works at the local coffee shop. Marcus listens. He offers advice when it seems appropriate. But mostly, he just listens. And with each passing day, he feels more and more like he's found something real. Something true. A family member who actually cares about him. Or so he thinks. It happens on a Tuesday afternoon. About 3 weeks after Marcus arrived home. Marcus is in the back of Daniel's truck, looking for a specific shovel. His hand brushes against something that isn't supposed to be there. Something hidden behind a loose panel in the truck bed. It's a leather-bound ledger. Marcus knows he shouldn't look. He knows that opening this ledger would be a violation of his brother's privacy. But he does it anyway. What he sees inside makes his blood run cold. The ledger is filled with names, addresses, amounts of money. But these aren't the records of a landscaping business. These are the records of something far more sinister. Marcus recognizes the pattern immediately. He's studied enough business practices to know a predatory scheme when he sees one. The addresses are all in the neighborhood where his parents live. The names are the names of elderly homeowners, people on fixed incomes, people who have lived in that neighborhood for decades. And the amounts of money listed next to their names? They're offers that are far below market value. Offers that would allow Daniel and whoever he's working with to buy up an entire neighborhood at a fraction of what the land is actually worth. Marcus's hands start shaking as he flips through the pages. There are notes in the margins. Plans for how to approach these homeowners. Details about their financial situations gathered through weeks of research. References to something called a silent partnership with a real estate development firm. There are even photographs of homes, marked up with plans for how they'll be demolished and replaced with new construction. And then Marcus sees it. His parents' home is in this ledger. Their names are listed with an offer amount that's literally half of what their house is worth. He hears Daniel's truck pulling back up to the job site. Quickly, Marcus puts the ledger back exactly where he found it. He covers it with the loose panel again. His hands are shaking. His mind is reeling. For 3 weeks, he believed that Daniel was the one good person in his family. The one person who actually loved him. And now he realizes that Daniel's kindness was never about love at all. It was about strategy. It was about access. Daniel thought that by taking in his supposedly bankrupt brother, he would gain the trust of someone with technical expertise. Someone whose secrets might be useful to a predatory real estate scheme. That evening, when Daniel picks him up, Marcus feels like he's looking at a stranger. Daniel is chatting away as usual, talking about the girl at the coffee shop, about a job they have lined up for next week, about whether they should grab some food on the way home. Marcus makes appropriate responses, but his mind is elsewhere. He's thinking about his parents, about how they're about to lose their home to a scheme that his own brother orchestrated. He's thinking about all the other people in that ledger, all the other families who will be displaced because of his brother's greed. That night, Marcus lies in the spare room and makes a decision. He's going to end this. He's going to reveal who he is. Show his family his bank account. Let them see the full extent of their greed. But he's not going to give them anything. He's not going to write checks or save his parents' home or bail anyone out. He's going to leave them with the truth. And the truth will be far more valuable than money could ever be. The next day, Marcus calls his mother and tells her to arrange a family meeting at a local diner for Sunday evening. Ruth seems surprised but doesn't ask many questions. She simply says she'll let everyone know and they'll meet him at 7 o'clock. The week stretches on forever. Marcus continues to go to work with Daniel, maintaining the lie, pretending everything is normal. But his mind is already gone. He's already thinking about what he's going to say, how he's going to reveal their true natures to them, how he's going to walk away from all of them forever. By Sunday evening, Marcus feels like a man on his way to an execution. He wears clothes he bought with cash. Clothes that fit him properly for the first time in weeks. He drives himself to the diner in a rental car. He sits in a booth and waits. They come in slowly. Sandra in her designer outfit. Michelle with her perfectly styled hair. Daniel looking confused about why he's here. Various aunts and uncles, cousins, other family members fill the booth and the ones surrounding it. His mother is the last to arrive. She sits directly across from Marcus and looks at him with an expression he can't quite read. "Well," Angela says, breaking the silence. "You wanted to tell us something?" Marcus opens his mouth to speak. He's practiced this moment 1,000 times. He's ready to reveal the bank statements, the investment portfolio, the real estate holdings. He's ready to tell them that they failed his test, that they revealed themselves to be exactly what he suspected. He's ready to tell them all to go to hell. But his mother holds up her hand. "Before you speak," Ruth says quietly, "I need to say something." Marcus closes his mouth. He looks at his mother, waiting. Ruth takes a deep breath. She looks around the table, making eye contact with each family member. Then she looks back at Marcus. "I know you're a billionaire," she says. The booth goes silent. Completely, utterly silent. Everyone freezes. "I've known for the last 5 years," Ruth continues, her voice steady and clear. "I know about your company in Boston. I've been following your career. I've read the articles about you in Forbes and TechCrunch. I watched you climb from nothing to the top of the technology world." She pauses. "And I did nothing to stop you from coming home and playing this game." Marcus feels the room tilt slightly. He opens his mouth to speak, but his mother holds up her hand again. "I deliberately let this family treat you the way they did," Ruth says. "I let you feel rejected. I let you feel unloved. I let you come home and test us, because I needed you to understand something." She leans forward. "I needed you to finally understand that your obsession with testing people's loyalty is the exact reason you're so lonely. You came home with a lie, Marcus. And you invited the very behavior you were afraid of. You wanted to catch people in their greed, so you created a scenario where greed would flourish." Tears are beginning to form in Marcus's eyes. He doesn't understand. He doesn't understand any of this. "You can't go through life setting traps for people," Ruth continues, "and then act surprised when they fall into them." She reaches across the table and takes his hand. "There's something else. Something I should have told you a long time ago." Michelle starts to say something, but Ruth silences her with a look. 15 years ago, when you told me you were moving to Boston to start a company, I thought about stopping you. I thought about telling you it was too risky, that you should stay here where it was safe." Ruth's voice becomes softer. "But I didn't. Instead, I did something else. Do you remember that we lost your father 5 years before that? Do you remember the life insurance policy he left?" Marcus nods slowly. His father died when Marcus was just 10 years old. The life insurance had been enough to help the family get by, but not enough to change their lives. "I took that money," Ruth says. "Every penny of it. And I invested it through an anonymous angel investor group in your first startup." Marcus stops breathing. "I was the one who believed in you before you believed in yourself," Ruth continues. "I was the one who took the risk on you. You thought you were self-made, Marcus. You thought you had built your empire from nothing." She squeezes his hand. "But I had already sacrificed everything for you. I had already made the biggest investment of my life in your success." Marcus feels something break inside him. The entire narrative of his life, the story he's been telling himself for 15 years, crumbles into dust. "You came home to judge a family you thought was greedy," Ruth says, her voice soft but firm. "But what you found is that you were the greedy one. You were so focused on what everyone could do for you, so focused on testing whether people's love was real. You never stopped to consider what had already been sacrificed for you." She releases his hand and sits back. "I let your sisters reject you because I needed you to understand that rejection exists. I let your brother deceive you because I needed you to understand that people can be corrupt, even the ones closest to you. I let you suffer because I needed you to finally understand something." Ruth looks him straight in the eyes. True character isn't just how people treat the poor. True character is how the wealthy choose to honor the truth. The other family members begin to react, to defend themselves, to explain. But Marcus barely hears them. He's sitting alone in his own mind, watching the entire foundation of his understanding crumble away. He came home to reveal the truth about his family. Instead, he was revealed. He came home to judge them. Instead, he was judged. And the worst part, the part that cuts deepest? His mother is right. Every word she spoke is the absolute truth. Marcus sits in that diner for another 10 minutes. He listens to his sisters try to explain, to his brother frantically deny accusations that haven't even been made yet, to his mother's continued calm explanation of why she orchestrated this entire scenario. And with each word, Marcus feels more and more like a fool. He spent 15 years building an empire. And in doing so, he built the walls of a prison around himself. He was so focused on proving that he didn't need anyone, that he could make it on his own, that he failed to see the greatest gift he ever received. A gift given by someone who expected nothing in return. When the conversation winds down, when it's clear there's nothing left to say, Marcus stands up. He looks at each member of his family, one by one. He doesn't speak. He just looks at them. And then he walks out of that diner and never goes back. He doesn't write a check to save his parents' home. He doesn't invest in his sister's businesses. He doesn't use his resources to help them in any way. He leaves them with what his mother said, with what they could have had all along if they had just been honest, if they had just loved him for who he was. He leaves them with the truth. And the truth, as it turns out, is far more powerful than money could ever be. Here's what Marcus learned that day, sitting in a diner surrounded by the people who raised him. If you spend your life looking for reasons to distrust people, you will always find them. You will find them even if you have to create the lies yourself to make them appear. You will create scenarios designed to expose the worst in human nature. And human nature, being what it is, will comply. People will fall into the traps you set, not because they were always greedy or corrupt, but because you gave them the opportunity to be. But the inverse is also true. If you spend your life looking for reasons to trust people, you will find those too. You will find them in small gestures, in sacrifices made in silence, in people who love you not despite your flaws, but because they've seen your potential and decided to invest in it anyway. Marcus Wellington left Philadelphia with a new understanding. True character isn't just how people treat the poor. It's how the wealthy choose to honor the truth. It's how people treat you when you have nothing, yes, but also how they treat you when you have everything and they know it. It's whether they're the same person in private as they are in public. It's whether they love you or whether they love what you can do for them. Marcus didn't go back to Boston. He didn't go back to his empire of technology and power and endless accumulation. Instead, he did something that surprised everyone, including himself. He started giving it away. Not to his family, but to strangers. To people who had no ability to repay him. No way to give him anything in return. Because he finally understood what his mother had been trying to teach him all along. The greatest wealth isn't what you accumulate. It's what you're willing to give freely, expecting nothing back. And sometimes, the people who love you most are the ones who do it in silence. Who believe in you when you don't believe in yourself. Who give everything and ask for nothing in return. Marcus had spent his whole life looking for proof that people didn't love him. What he found instead was proof that he hadn't been looking for love at all. He'd been looking for an excuse to stay alone. Sometimes the test we set for others reveals more about ourselves than it ever could about them. Sometimes the person who needs to change isn't the world around us, but the person staring back at us in the mirror. What are you testing people for? And what does that say about you?